I'm Madam Eva, a biology teacher from Educare Tanzania, and I'm here again, my dear student, to take you through a series of sessions involving solving of revision questions in various topics we taught here at our good media Educare Tanzania. And in our today's session, we'll deal with the level of Form 4 in the topic of genetics. And wonderfully enough, in this session, we will wind up the revision exercise number 2, the revision exercise of genetics, the question number 34 and the question number 35 in the book of Tanzania Institute of Education. As you can see here, question need us to explain some issues concerning this scenario here. We can see in Rosa alba plantis, red flower is controlled by an allele capital letter R, whereas white flower is controlled by an allele capital letter W. In an experiment, red and white flowered Rosa alba plantis were crossed and all F1 plantis produced had pink flowers. A. Explain why such an observation, and B. When two of F1 plantis were self-crossed, 1,000 plantis were produced. By the help of illustration, show how many of F2 plantis will have red flowers, 2 pinky flowers, 3 white flowers. Today we are required to give out the numbers, and I'll take you through the solving so that you will understand how to obtain the numbers of offsprings which will display certain trait. Now we will start with part A and then we'll finalize with part B of our question. First of all, we'll have to explain why such an observation, meaning that we are required to explain why the crossing between the red and white flower give rise of the F1 generation possessing the character of pinky color. As you can see here, this is all about A, and then on the part B, we have been given that two of F1 plant were self-crossed and 1,000 plants were produced. We are going to produce the F2 generation. We'll take the two offspring from F1 to produce the F2 generation by crossing them. And we can see on F2 generation, 100,000, we can see 1,000 offsprings were produced. From there, we will have to determine how many were pinky, how many were red in color, and how many were white in color, as you can see here. And then let's take a look on part A before we can say the cross between red and white flowered Rosa alba plantis resulting in all F1 plantis having pinky flowers illustrates the concept of incomplete dominance, and here is a breakdown of the observations and the results. Hapa tunaenda kuangalia the observations and the results according to the question part A, we were required to explain the reason for those observations. Now we are going to break it down to give out the observations and the results so that somebody can understand well why those results were happening. As we can see here, in Rosa alba, the allele for red flowers, capital letter R, is dominant over the allele for white flowers, we can see capital letter W, when they are both present, leading to pinky flowers when expressed together. The phenotypic expression in F1 pinky flowers indicates that neither allele is full dominant. That is the reason for this observation. When we talk about the incomplete dominance, my dear students, because this concept is all about the incomplete dominance. First of all, you will have to understand what does the word dominance mean. And dominance means dominating or taking role over, control. That's tukisema incomplete dominance, we mean that half dominated. Tunamaanisha kwamba kitu hakijaweza kudominate total, kimedominate kidogo, yani hakuna ambaye anaweza kufanya kuconquer. Between the two traits, no trait can conquer an offspring. When we say the trait conquering an offspring, we can see, maybe let's take an example. in our families maybe the father is taller and the mother is short. When the offspring resulted watakuwa ni warefu. Tunasema wale watoto watakaozaliwa kutoka kwa baba mrefu na mama mfupi wakiwa warefu, it means that the trait of the father dominated and the trait of the mother masked. That is complete dominance. And when we talk about the incomplete dominance, it means kwamba the resulting offspring, labda kuna offspring ambaye yuko pale katikati, hajawa mrefu kama baba wala hajawa mfupi kama mama, yuko katika height ya katikati. That is incomplete. Hajachukua trait ya wote. Yani kuna namna zote zinajaribu kujiexpress equal. Ni example ndogo lakini not a good example to take in incomplete dominance. Mfano mzuri katika incomplete dominance is all about these flowers. When you take the red flower, to take kwamba red flower la kike na white flower la kiume, then yakawa crossed, offsprings watakaokuwa resulted tutapata offsprings ambao ni pinkish in color. It means kwamba itokea mchanganyiko wa red color na white color tukapata rangi nyingine ambayo sio red wala sio white. It means kwamba those traits hakuna ambayo imekuwa na uwezo wa kudominate. Hope umeelewa kuhusu incomplete dominance. And now, as you can see here, the phenotypic expression in F1, the pink flowers indicate that neither allele is fully dominant. Up to here, nahisi umeelewa vizuri. And now, this situation is known as incomplete dominance, where the heterozygous individuals ambao watapossess capital letter R na capital letter W display a phenotype that is intermediate between the two homozygous conditions, the red and the white. That is all about the F1 generation. Kwa hiyo tutapata offsprings ambao ni red in color, red na white itakuwa itapata trait ambao ni intermediate between them. And that's display the incomplete dominance. And then now tuenda kuangalia F2 generation analysis, because here we are going to look on the reasons for the observations in the question. As you can see here, when two F1 plantids, both pinkish in color, are self-decrossed, we can predict the genotypes and phenotypes of the F2 generation using a Pannetti square. Kwa tukichukua offsprings walokuwa resulted from F1 generation, tukawafanyia crossing, the resulting offsprings atakao kuja kuwapata, offspring ambao watakuwa resulted, tutaweza kuwa determine vizuri kwa urahisi zaidi, either kwa kutumia Pannetti square au kwa kutumia the Mendelian crossing. And now, my dear students, as you can see here, we take two offsprings from the F1 generation and making a cross, we'll get the one flower which is the red in color, we'll get two flowers which are pinkish in color, and one flower again which is white in color. And if you remember the part B of our question, we were provided with 1,000 offsprings resulted from crossing of F1 generation to produce F2, and we were just required to state the numbers of those offsprings, which will be the red in color, pink in color, as well as white in color. And then you can see outcomes in F2 generation. Genotypes, red is 1 chance, pink 2 chances, and white 1 chance. So the ratio here will be 1:2:1. That is all about the genotypic ratio of the F2 generation. And wonderfully enough, this is the same as phenotypic ratio of F2 generation. That is. And then when we talk about ratios, total, we'll take 1:2:4. Total, they were 4. The red in color is 1 out of 4, meaning that 25 of the total. Here is 50% of the total, as well as here is the 25% of the total. I hope you understand. Out of 4, tulikuwa na 50%, tulikuwa tuna 50% ambao walikuwa ni pinki. Tulikuwa na 25% ambao walikuwa ni red, na 25% kwa 25% red and white in color. And then we can see in summary, number of red flowers, red flowered plantids, we can see walikuwa 250, number of pink flowered plantids watakuwa 500, a number of white flowered plants watakuwa 250. Hii inaenda kutujibu swali letu namba B ambayo ilikuwa na kipengele 1, kipengele 2 na kipengele 3. So tulihitajika tutoe number of red, number of white na number of pinkish in color out of 1000 flowers ambao walikuwa resulted from the crossing of 2 offsprings from the F1 generation to obtain F2 generation. How to obtain this? You will take those percentages. For instance, 25%. You will put it over 100%, then you will times 1000, from which utapata hizi hapa total. Unachukua percentage ulioipata unazidisha kwa total number ya offspring ambao walizaliwa katika hiyo generation. For instance, tuchukulie 25% ambao walikuwa ni red flowers, utachukua 25 chini ya 100 utazidisha mara 1000, then utaenda kupata 250. The same kwenye pink flowered plants utachukua 50 over 100 then times 1000, you will end up getting 500. The same applies to number of white flowered plants. And again, you can see this distribution reflects the expected outcome based on the ratios derived from the self-cross of the F1 pink flowered plants. And this is the good answer for our part B of the question. And I hope, my dear students, you enjoyed the solving and you understand it well. Now we are going to explore on the question number 34. As you can see, a hemophilic man was married to a normal but career woman. By using genetic symbols, work out to show probability in their couple of getting A hemophilic son and B normal children. Hapa tunahitajika kwamba hemophilic man alimuoa mwanamke ambaye ni normal but carrier of hemophilia. So by using genetic cross lazima tuonyeshe hapa probability ya kupata son ambaye ni hemophilia na pia kupata normal children. Probability ya kupata normal children itakuwa ni ngapi na pia ya kupata mtoto ambaye ni hemophilic itakuwa ni ngapi? As you can see here, to analyze the genetic probabilities of a hemophilic man married to a normal but carrier woman, we first need to establish the relevant genetic symbols, or we can call it the symbols or the letters to represent alleles for a certain trait. And this is what you should be you are supposed to do when dealing with the questions which are requiring you to show the genetic crossing, either by using the Punnett square or the Mendelian crossing. First, you'll have to indicate letters or to assume some letters which will stand for certain trait. And you can see here, let X raised to capital letter H represent the X chromosome carrying the hemophilia allele, and hemophilia is a X-linked recessive. Ni X-linked recessive trait inakuwa carried katika X chromosome. Also, let the X raised to capital letter N represent the X chromosome carrying the normal allele. And the man being hemophilic has the genotype this one. Kwa hiyo kama capital letter H stands for hemophilia, it means kwamba man, since ana possess single X chromosome, if he is hemophilic, that means that ni total phenotypical is hemophilia. Kwa tutachukua X raised to capital letter H and Y, tutamaanisha kwamba this man is hemophilic in nature. And then the normal carrier woman has the genotype of X raised to capital letter N and X raised to capital letter H, that is the carrier. Now we are going to see the crossing between these two individuals and their resulting offsprings. And next we can set up a Punnett square to visualize the inheritance of the X chromosome from the parents to their children. Parent genotype C, you can see the father hemophilic man. Father is a hemophilic man having the X raised to capital letter H and Y, but the mother is the carrier woman having the X raised to capital letter N and this X raised to capital letter H. That is all about it. the genotypes of the mother and the genotypes of the father. And now, my dear students, we are going to take a look on the crossing using the Punnett square. As you can see here, we have the normal but carrier woman, X raised to capital letter N, as well as X raised to capital letter H, as well as the hemophilic man, X raised to capital letter H and the capital letter Y. On crossing, we are going to explore on the resulting offspring. As you can see here, we will get the carrier offspring, the female one, also the hemophilic offspring, the female one, the normal son, and the hemophilic son. So probability, tunaenda kuangalia probability ya kupata hemophilic son na probability ya kupata normal children. As you can see here, hemophilic son ni moja out of 2, and tukiangalia kwenye both children, probability ya kupata normal children ni 2. Tutachukua 2/4, tutazidisha kwa 100, then tutapata majibu sahihi. From the mothers, we can see X raised to normal. Daughters tumepata wawili. The first one is carrier daughter and the second one is hemophilic daughter. As you can see here, probabilities. Now we can calculate the probabilities. As we can see, A, probability of having a hemophilic son from the Punnett square. We will take the number of sons. We are having 2 offsprings ambao walikuwa ni wa kiume, and now we will take that 2 offsprings. Tutaangalia ni katika hao wawili ni offsprings gani au wangapi, either ni wote wamekuwa katika hali ya hemophilic. And now you can see here the hemophilic son is only the one, so you will take 1/2 times C. As you can see here, normal son is the single one. You can see this one is a hemophilic son, and the probability of hemophilic son is 1/4 total outcomes corresponding to a hemophilic son. And so the probability of having a hemophilic son is 25%. Utapata ni 25% probability ya kuwa na son ambaye ni hemophilia. And then we can see the total number of normal children, son and carrier daughters, is 1 normal son plus 1 carrier daughter. Tutapata wawili. That is normal outcomes. So the probability of having normal child is 50%, kwa sababu ni wawili ambao walikuwa ni normal out of 4 offsprings. And now we are going to look on the question number 35. You can see, briefly explain why sex-linked dominant traits occur more often in females than in males. Tunaenda kuangalia kwa nini sex-linked traits zinatokea sana kwa females rather than in males. Kwa sababu gani tunaposema sex-linked dominant traits, it means kwamba zinakuwa linked kwenye X chromosomes. As you can see here, sex-linked dominant traits occur more frequently in females than in male due to the differences in their sex chromosome compositions. That is the main reason. Hiyo ndo reason kubwa ambayo inafanya hizi sex-linked dominant traits zinaenda kutokea sana kwa wanawake zaidi kuliko kwa jinsia ya kiume. And the reason behind first is chromosome composition. Females have 2 X chromosomes, while males have 1 X and 1 Y chromosome. And this means that females have 2 alleles for any gene located on the X chromosome, allowing for a greater chance of expressing dominant trait. Kwa hiyo wana greater chance ya kuexpress dominant trait. Tunaposema dominant ni how, it means kwamba both X chromosomes zina uwezo wa kupossess trait ambayo ni sex-linked. Again, we can see expression of dominant traits. In the cases of X-linked dominant traits, a single copy of the dominant allele on one of the X chromosome in female is sufficient for the trait to be expressed. In contrast, the male having only 1 X chromosome will express the trait if they inherit the dominant allele, but they cannot inherit it from their fathers as males pass their Y chromosome to their sons. That is all about expression of the dominant. This is another reason. Also, developmental factors. Many X-linked dominant disorders can be more severe or even fatal in males, which can lead to a lower prevalence of these traits in males compared to females. And this further contributes to the higher occurrence of these traits in females. Tunazungumzia zile sex-linked traits ambazo zinaweza zikapelekea kifo. It means kwamba zina uwezo wa kujiexpress au zikawa ni fatal sana kwa wanaume kwa sababu wanapossess single X chromosome, na akiacquire ameiacquire na anaweza akaperish out na tukabaki na watoto wa kike peke yao. And by reaching here, my dear students,